Welcome into the I-80 Boys College Football Podcast. We're talking some Oregon Ducks football today, Christian. I'll dig into the offense first, like usual, and I'll kick it over to you for the defense. But Oregon, top 5 team preseason right now currently. They had a great season last year. We know what they did. They went 12-2. Those 2 losses came against Washington for whatever reason. They couldn't beat them. 2 really good games, by the way, though. They finished 8-2 in conference, obviously. And offensively, man, 44.2 points per game. That was second in the country. That's a lot of points. Some teams like my Huskers can't even score a quarter of that, but here we are. So they did average 531 yards of total offense, too. That's really, really impressive. And the big thing with Oregon, everybody's wondering what they get back. They returned 6 starters, Christian, from last year's offense. If you know and you remember pretty well, too, Oregon had one of the more balanced offenses in the country as far as running and passing last season. And this offense is going to be ran by Oklahoma transfer Dillon Gabriel. He put up Heisman-type numbers last year at Oklahoma. And I don't expect anything to change under offensive coordinator Will Steen this season. The Ducks, they lost a couple of their top-tier weapons, the NFL draft, but they do get back one of the best wide receivers in the country in Tez Johnson. I believe he's the program's single-season reception leader as well, so that'll be huge for Gabriel. They also kept Trayshawn Holden and Gary Bryant Jr., and I expect the Ducks to have one of the better wide receiver cores in the country this year, so I think they're going to do all right there. Now, the offensive line, I think they're going to be great again. They lost a couple pieces. They lost the Remington Trophy winner last year, Jackson Powers Johnson, to the NFL. But they kept 3 of their other 5 guys. They're going to be good up front again. They were last year. I don't see much change in there either. So overall, Christian, with the offense, man, I don't expect to see much of a drop-off this season. We know what Dan Lanning does. We know he recruits well. They did well in the transfer portal again. Also, high school recruiting. This offense is going to be good this year. And I expect him to be one of the more balanced offenses again this season. So I'll kick it over to you for the defense.
Yeah, Chris, Oregon had a top 25 defense last year, and I expect them to continue to be very sound on that side of the ball, right? It's Dan Lanning's specialty, like we talk about. Here's the thing. Oregon did reach into the portal. They're going to have 6 potential new starters on the defensive side of the ball, which is kind of a lot, right? But here's the thing. Up front, the D-line, is going to be led by Jordan Burch, right? He's a former 5-star. He had 3 sacks last year, right? But he also had 34 tackles. I think this is the year that they're really asking Jordan Burch to step up. I know he transferred in from South Carolina a couple years ago. This is the year where they need him to step up and really display that potential that he's capable of. Linebacker room is going to be led by Jeffrey Bassa, who has 71 tackles last year. And I think the secondary, Chris, this is really interesting to me. The secondary is going to be probably one of the better parts of this team, right? They got Jabbar Muhammad from Washington. That's going to be a fantastic pickup for them. The safeties are led by Tysheem Johnson, who had 7 pass deflections, 70 tackles, and 2 interceptions last year. So they're pretty good, I would say, on the back end as well. Look, overall, I think this defense is going to be solid. I think that they're going to probably gel when it matters most, and we'll kind of see where they go as the season goes along. Turning it over here, Chris, we'll get into their record and prediction video here. I'll start us off. Look, Chris, I got them go 11-1, and I'm going to tell you exactly who I think they may lose to here.
Okay.
I think Ohio State is going to be a tough game for them, but again, Ohio State to me is pretty much where this could go. It's either going to be Ohio State or it's going to be some shock and upset loss anywhere along the schedule, right? It's a new conference. Only time will tell. Chris, I'll kick it over to you. Tell me a little bit what your thoughts are.
You know what, man? You hit the nail on the head for me. I have them going 11-1. You talked about the team. I do have them losing to Ohio State. Now, I know that game is at home. And I actually think this game is pretty much a coin flip. I mean, I don't think I'm shocking anybody here, or neither are you saying, the Ohio State, Oregon. I mean, that's going to be one of the bigger games all season. We know that. Is there a way that they could lose one of these games between, maybe at Michigan or Maryland, Wisconsin, they follow up with Washington? Yeah, it could happen, but if anybody follows the show, me and you have been really, really high on Oregon since Dan Lanning's got there. And it's no shock this year that we both have them going 11-1, probably competing for a Big Ten title as well. But Christian, I want to ask you one question.
Mm-hmm.
What's the floor? What's the ceiling for this team, in your opinion?
Yeah, great question. I think the floor for this team is 10 wins.
Okay.
I think Oregon's too good of a team. I think Dan Lanning's too good of a coach. I think that you look at the Big Ten this year, I mean, a lot of these teams, again, like we said, they're reloading. They for God's sakes, I mean, Idaho, Boise State, and then at Oregon State. Oregon State lost their coach, and a lot of their players jumped ship. UCLA, same boat. Michigan State, I think, is going to be good down the road, but this is a year where they're all getting together. They got to go on the road to play Oregon, so that's tough. Ohio State, we've already talked about them. At Purdue here, they're probably going to be, like you said, Chris, one of the worst teams in the Big Ten this year. Illinois, Brett Bielema is a good coach, but we'll see. He needs to do something this year. At Michigan, look, Michigan's reloaded, and they lost a ton. Right? Wisconsin, they're going to be better, but I don't know if they can still match wits with an Oregon. And then lastly, Washington lost more than anybody in the country after last year. So it's kind of actually a pretty easy schedule, all things considered. I would say the ceiling for him, Chris, would probably be an undefeated regular season.
Yeah, I mean, to add to that, Christian, I agree with you. I think the ceiling obviously is undefeated. I guarantee you Oregon fans are going to tell us, the goal is to get to the playoff this year, and obviously you're going to have to get to the Big Ten title game. But as far as the floor goes, yeah, I would say 9 or 10 wins. Now, I think something drastic would have to happen, whether maybe Dylan Gabriel gets hurt early in the season, or something like that happens, and they maybe drop a game, like you said, to Ohio State, or maybe an at Michigan, like I said earlier, or maybe at a Wisconsin. But I'm like you, though. I don't see that happening. I think Oregon is due for a really, really good season this year.